Hey, what's up bros? Welcome back to another Pokemon Sleep video. It's Bro Vinny here. Oh, it kind of looks like I just triggered a main skill. And that is indeed what we're talking about today. But we're talking about one more thing. What we previously thought inventory was for has changed. So I'm talking about the carry limit, the Pokemon's inventory. Today, we are talking about how inventory actually affects skill trigger. It wasn't until this last week when I was made aware that some people have noticed that when your inventory is full, your Pokemon's inventory is full, it seems like the skill doesn't trigger. The main skill doesn't trigger. So in this video, I'm going to prove to you that that's the case. I'll show you how in a moment, but let's talk about what that actually means. Now, previously, we thought sub-skills such as inventory up M and inventory up L are fairly useless skills. Because as long as you collect a lot during the day and don't fill up the inventory, the only time it really affects you is when you do a long tracked sleep. So if you go to sleep at night and do your 8.5 hours of sleep a night, and your inventory fills up because, for example, in this Ghastly here, it collects berries pretty quickly with berry finding S. So every about 20 minutes or so, because it's the frequency, and if you have 100% energy recovery by the end of the night, then it'll be farming at about 2.2 times the rate of the frequency. So about every half hour, I'll get one of these drops. So it could be 2 herbs or it could be 2 berries. So within 5 triggers, so 5 times 20 or 30 minutes, and that's only 2 to 3 hours, this Ghastly's inventory would have filled up already. Now previously, we thought that inventory would only be really that good if you've got an ingredient specialist, because if it's berry specialist, it doesn't matter because all the berries, once the inventory, the carry limit is full, they overflow into sneaky snacking, so you don't lose anything for berry specialists, maybe a little bit of ingredient. But for ingredient specialists, that's really detrimental, because after 2 to 3 hours of sleep, this Ghastly will only be dropping berries. Now, whether ingredients are lost in the process or they're simply not dropped, I still don't have proof for that yet, but that's the premise of another video. What I want to talk about in this video is if this Ghastly skill, main skill, did not trigger within the first 2 to 3 hours of sleep because of its low inventory, it's actually not going to be able to trigger at all after 2 to 3 hours if it hadn't already triggered. Hypothetically, if I have unlocked this inventory L and then as well as this inventory M, making the total carry limit 40, not only will I be farming a lot more ingredients, I will also have more hours during my sleep to actually have a skill to trigger. So while this inventory up effect on skill doesn't really apply during the day, since as long as you collect frequently enough, your Pokemon will still be able to trigger their skill, it applies to you during long sleep overnight, especially for Pokemon that have low carry limit. And by the way, you can increase that carry limit not only by sub-skills, but also by evolving. So when you evolve a Pokemon, you'll get +5 to the carry limit. So each time this Ghastly evolves, it'll get +5. But of course, by being an evolved Pokemon, it has a higher base carry limit as well. So for example, Haunter actually has a base of 14. So it becomes 14 plus 5, which is 19 when I get to Haunter stage. This Haunter, for example, I caught it at as a Haunter, so I didn't evolve it. You can see it's a base carry limit of 14, but if I had evolved it from Ghastly, it would be 19 carry limit. And it's one of the benefits of evolving Pokemon from base stage, and now we have one more reason to do that, and it's for main skills to trigger more often. So to prove to you that main skill cannot trigger when the inventory is full, what I've done is on my alt account, I've got all these Pokemon that have pretty much reached inventory, like max inventory. Now, what I've done is in this first video, I've collected all the main skills of each of my Pokemon. You can see that I'm tapping on the Pokemon, but I am not collecting the berries and I'm not collecting the ingredients. And you can see that they've all got a main skill, or most of them have a main skill banked. This Squirtle and this Pikachu didn't have a main skill banked, but it's okay. All I wanted to do is clear any banked main skills that they already have. By not collecting the berries and then simply exiting the game or going to the main menu, these Pokemon will collect all the berries from the ground, put it back into their inventory. So, to prove to you that main skill cannot trigger, what I've done is I've just left the game like this, with all the Pokemon at max limit, for 24 hours. So this is me logging back into the game. This is the second video now, logging back into the game 24 hours later. And you'll see that, and I can prove to you that it's, a significant amount of time after, because you can look at the sneaky snacking. And by the way, they're on 0 energy. So the sneaky snacking is like meant to be quite low, and still they farm like over 1 to 2,000 strength per Pokemon. So now you can see that when I go click on the Pokemon, and this is 24 hours later, usually you would at least have one Pokemon trigger a main skill. But you'll see that in all 5 cases, there was no main skill. What's interesting to note here is that candy was still being farmed. So while I wasn't testing for whether candies can be farmed, you did see that this Squirtle here did get, this Psyduck here did get Psyduck candies. So carry limit doesn't seem to affect whether a Pokemon can farm candies. So now that we know carry limit affects skill trigger, we should probably talk about the skills specialist in reference to this new understanding. Because skills specialists are where you really need the main skills. Yes, it's nice to have main skills trigger on berry specialists and ingredient specialists, but often you want the skill specialist to be triggering. Now, thankfully, I'm going to tell you straight away that it doesn't matter too much for skill specialists, because generally speaking, they are not farming that much. So this is a berry finding S Jiggly, which is why I decided to invest in it. But typically speaking, that should only be ×1, that berry there, and that ingredient is ×1. I evolved this Jiggly from Igglybuff, and currently it has 14 carry limit. So about every half an hour, it will trigger 1 drop. So it'll take about 7 hours for it to reach the limit, which is a lot less concerning than my Ghastly example earlier. It'll be a lot more concerning if you have a low carry limit and a berry specialist that is berry finding S. So for example, this Feraligatr here that can get 3 berries every trigger, and it gets that every 20 minutes. That means 9 berries per hour. Within 3 hours, it would have reached the limit. So the chance of this Feraligatr triggering the main skill is actually a little bit less, because of this problem. Well, this berry finding problem is that it's too good at as a berry specialist. Now, I would take a berry finding S over a skill focused Feraligatr any day. So there's no harm. It's not a bad thing, but now you know how inventory affects skill trigger. So back to this Jigglypuff example, actually having berry finding S, making this drop ×2 with a medium-sized carry limit. If we hypothetically assume that the ingredient just doesn't get triggered all night, and each time a berry drop is triggered happens every 20-30 minutes, so every hour I get 4 to 6 berries within about 3 hours. Because of this berry finding S on this Jigglypuff and the relatively low carry limit, Jigglypuff actually has a lower chance of getting this skill trigger, which is one of the reasons that we use it for. So while I still really like berry finding S, it actually compromises skill specialists. Hopefully that made sense. If you have any situations or scenarios where you're not sure, You can always ask me in the comments section below or come to my Discord. And if it's for a very specific Pokemon that you want to post a screenshot of and know whether it's a good Pokemon to invest, use my Rate My Mon chat and my community will come together and help you out. So if you post your screenshot like Sturgeon here, showing your sub skills and natures, your ingredient drops, we'll come together and help you decide whether it's worth investing. Hopefully this video helped you guys out. If it did, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel.